Hey guys, Sup Up here, and I'm here to bring you some Rome Total War online action. Been away from online for a little while, so my micro is a little bit off in the coming fights that you're going to see. I'm here to bring you guys two battle replays, so a little bit different than the one I usually bring you guys. And I just played these two fights, so they are really fresh in my head, which is very good. I like doing it right afterwards. Alright, so this is a Thrace versus Rome fight. That's what the first battle here is going to be. So let's take a look at my army first here. My army consists of 6 sets of these phalanx pikemen. They are going to be my heavy infantry, my main infantry component. And they are all gold, which you kind of need with these more barbarian style units. Kind of need to give them some good upgrades. Behind my phalanx line, I have 4 sets of falksmen. And I'm really growing accustomed to these guys. These guys are really fun to use. I basically have been growing really accustomed to them from my fight with Dacia versus Macedon, which I believe was my latest fight. They were really effective, and they were really effective in this fight too, so they're growing on me. I'm really starting to like this barbarian unit here. And I also spread them out evenly, 2 over here, 2 over here. So then they are all gold, silver, I believe. No, gold. Alright. Behind them I have 4 sets of Greek cavalry. And some of you guys may be thinking, but this is a huge waste of money. Why did you bring all these pathetic cavalry units? Well, there is a reasoning behind it, and it's a very good reasoning. Greek cavalry is a huge waste of money unless you use them properly. Now, if I had these guys one-on-one engage the enemy Roman cavalry, yes, that would be suicide. It would be a huge waste of money. Of course it would. But these guys are not meant to fight off the enemy Roman cavalry. That's what I have my falksmen here for. This Greek cavalry will not be used to fight enemy cavalry. It will be used for distraction and possible hammer and anvil strikes if I can find an opening. And that's basically the whole plan of this fight, and it actually turns out quite well for me. Finally, I have my General's Armored Bodyguard. Typically don't bring a General's Armored Bodyguard, but with barbarian factions, you really kind of have to, because your heavy infantry is so susceptible to dying that you need to have a quick moving general. So that's why I like him in a cavalry unit. And since this is Thrace, Greek cavalry unit will not cut it, because Greek cavalry will die too simply and they'll rout too easily. So that's why I put him with a General's Armored Bodyguard there. Now let's take a look at my opponent's army. My opponent's name is Sword of Rome. So first up, he has this militia cavalry unit, or cavalry auxilia. That's just basically spear throwing cavalry. You can see he's using it for some harassing maneuvers right now, but they're being shredded. Over here he has 4 sets of these archer auxilia. One of them is actually his general, and I don't think he meant to put his general with an archer auxilia unit. I think he just forgot that the first unit you put on your roster is your general, and it just turned out to be an archer auxilia. I think that's how it went. Not quite sure, but I don't think he'd put his general in an archer auxilia unit on purpose. Next up he has 6 sets of legionary cohorts here. These are his main heavy infantry, the main bulk of his army. And I was quite surprised he didn't bring urbans in this case, but I guess he just decided to save some of the extra money and go with legionaries. Bottom line being, urbans would be much more effective, especially against lower quality infantry such as the Thracians, but this gave me a little bit more of a leanway, although the Romans still excel. However, he only has bronze upgrades on these guys, so my guys actually do have kind of a good chance. Let's see, what next? He has 2 sets of these Murmillo gladiators, and for whatever reason these guys are glitched for me. They don't look right. I don't really know why. But he has 2 of those guys, and I believe they are gold, bronze, or something. I don't know the upgrades on those guys. Then finally he has 4 sets of Praetorian cavalry, and I believe these guys are it's tough to count the upgrades. It looks like just a bronze attack or bronze defense. So yeah, these guys aren't upgraded much at all. He does have a decently sized army though, with the amount of cavalry and the amount of infantry. And he also has this archer auxilia, so he brought a pretty good army. He definitely wasted his cavalry auxilia over here. This was just a waste of money in my opinion. He used his cavalry auxilia for what I'm assuming are harassment tactics. But it was a stupid idea to use harassment tactics but not move up the rest of your army. I mean, that was just basically like saying, shred these guys for me, please. I don't know if he expected them to last longer and drain out all my arrows, which wouldn't have happened. One unit of cavalry auxiliary will not make me waste all my arrows, and I really didn't have a problem with making him sacrifice a couple hundred denarii worth of cash, and I hardly lost any arrows. So it was just a kind of a waste of money and a strange idea by my opponent to try out there. Alright, so I'm basically advancing forward slowly, and a lot of this fight is me advancing forward, because he is not going to advance forward at all, so we'll just put this in double speed. There we go. It doesn't really take long to get there, but it's just going to take longer than I really necessarily want to take, just moving forward. Bit of a waste of time on footage. Alright, so we'll put it back in normal now. I will speed it up again here in a second, though. I just wanted to show you. Basically, I'm running forward my archers now because his archer auxilia have a huge ranged advantage, but the advantage I have going for me is his generals in an archer auxilia unit. So guess where I'm going to focus most of my arrows in on? If I can take out that general, it's going to be a huge morale hit to my opponent. Also, to kind of stop some of my arrows, he's going to form his front legionary cohorts into testudo formation. But as you can see, most of the arrows are just going above his Roman infantry, so it really doesn't even matter. They're just flying right overhead and right into the archer auxilia. So this is kind of a waste of time. It might have deflected a few arrows, so you know it really didn't matter, so it wasn't a bad idea. Alright, so I'm just advancing forward once again. And once I find a place that's comfortable, I'm gonna stop right here, I guess. And I'm just shooting him down with my arrows. There's really nothing to this. I'm trying to kill his general, but unfortunately that doesn't happen at this juncture. He's going to start to run out of here pretty soon. See, did he start yet? Nope. See if we can spot his general. Yeah, his general's like over here somewhere or something. Yeah, nothing really going on right now, so I'm going to put in triple speed. See, he just moved his general out of there. He just scrammed out of there with his general. Nothing too surprising there. He saw he was getting really hammered by my arrows in that vicinity, so he's going to scram. Alright, so it's at this point that my opponent finally decides to make a move forward. He had formed all his legionary cohorts into testudo formation, and he's going to march forward in that formation. Really not necessary because the Romans have such huge shields anyway, and my archers are slightly depleted. So I mean, it really wasn't necessary, just kind of taking more time than necessary, but it's fine. I mean, it really didn't matter. Like I said, there's some tactics that you can do and it won't matter at all whether you do it or not, and then there's some that matter as a whole deal and it could cost you the battle and things like that. So in response to him moving up his infantry, I'm going to move up mine. And basically, if I keep his men stuck on the front of my sarissas, it's going to be a clear victory for me. He is still in testudo formation, even though I'm moving up my infantry, and I want to lure him out of testudo. He's going to get out here in just a second, I think. See, should just be one more second. We'll watch him come out. There we go. So they're just going to line up once again, come out of the testudo formation, line up for battle. And it's at this point, as soon as he came out of testudo, I ran my archer unit forward, and look at this. They are going to suffer Pilla, but it saves the army, the Pilla, because that was huge. He just wasted a couple of volleys of Pilla right there, so that was huge. Just because Pilla is just very valuable to the Romans. Romans are very adept at using Pilla. Their spears really do end up doing a lot of damage if you can get them off properly. But there you can see I just wasted them. I'm basically just trying to keep my sarissas fixed, but he is doing the smart thing. He's not running right into my sarissas. He is instead going to outflank. But I'm going to respond by charging my Greek cavalry right here. And this was the use that I was talking about. They're going to do a sufficient number of casualties, and then I'm going to get him out of there. He does send his Praetorian Cav after me, and he's going to catch some of them, but not many. And unfortunately, he does get to rout those guys, and that's because their morale is just not good at all. Silver Greek Cavalry unit is still stuck there, and I believe I lost both units of Greek Cavalry over here. But these two have more success, and there is no cavalry support on this side. They're going to get a lovely rear charge here. And you can see there's already Roman infantry routing here, so there is not much left but to wrap this up here. At least on that flank. Over on this flank, you can see that my phalanxmen are now going at it with his Praetorian cavalry, and look at that, those guys are going to do quite well in prolonged melee. I also charge in my general just to kind of even the odds, because even though I didn't want it to happen, the Praetorian cavalry did get the charge on my phalanxmen. But luckily, it wasn't too much of a charge, and it didn't kill too many of them. And look at all those dead Praetorian cav there. That is beautiful. That's why phalanxmen are so deadly. You can see they're hardly even hurt, really, at all, either. So, I mean, they did a great job. Over here, it's kind of just an easy situation. I'm just wiping the rest of this cavalry on my shoe right now, just with my phalanx pikemen. There's not much left over. There's not much of his cavalry left. And I'm also using these two units of phalanxmen just for the fun of it to slaughter his infantry, and these guys are not bad against infantry either, I've quickly learned. Look at them. They are also in a war cry, so they're going to be very effective. They're going to get mowed down, these Romans. Romans are just going to get mowed down. And luckily, I don't know how this ever happened, but his general is still alive, and I really don't understand how that's even possible. He's suffered a lot during this fight. So yeah, basically all he's doing at this point is he's going to retreat to the red line end of the map over here. Let's just put it in triple speed until we get to any crucial portions. I don't think there's anything really left to see. You can see I'm just wiping up the rest of his army there. So that was a heroic victory for me. I deployed 845 men, got 534 kills, and had 611 men remaining. My opponent's Sword of Rome deployed 586 men, got 264 kills, and had 48 men remaining. Very good game to my opponent, and I have one more battle to show you guys. So, yeah, I'll just take a second to load that up. Let's take a look at the quote. When one side goes against the enemy with the god's gift of stronger morale than their adventures is... I couldn't finish. Anyway, I'm sure you guys saw that anyway. Alright. Go to the next battle here. This next battle is a Carthage versus Pontus battle. So it's a pretty interesting matchup there. Pontus is, I guess, decent. I can't really use Pontus very well because their infantry is terrible. I mean, you know, Thracians could wipe the floor with them. And that's, you know, that's saying something, another barbarian faction. Pontus does have really good cavalry, though. They have their cataphract-style horses and other good cavalry as well, so they're not a complete, you know, waste of time. Alright, so I'm using Carthage, and as you guys know, I'm sure, this is my favorite faction. I love Carthage. I love just all their units. One thing I was never a fan of in their history was their generals, except for Hannibal, and, you know, he was decent. But Carthage always had a long time history of having bad generals, but hopefully I broke that streak there, because this was a really good fight. Alright, let's take a look at the front ranks here. I have 6 sets of Sacred Band pikemen here, and they are all gold, as is so customary. So those guys are very deadly. Behind them I have 2 sets of pointy infantry, and they are my other set of phalanx units. They can form phalanx, but they're nowhere near as good as Sacred Band. And I believe they're gold. In the very front, I have 3 sets of slingers, and these guys have gold attack each. So I didn't bring much of a range component. These guys are basically going to be for soaking up arrows while I march forward there. Next up, I have a set of round shield cavalry right here. And these guys are very weak light cavalry. These guys are mostly going to be used for distraction or to run down archers. And finally, I have 3 sets of Sacred Band cavalry. These guys are all gold upgraded, so they're quite deadly. Also, my general is with the far left unit of Sacred Band. Let's see if we can spot him. There he is. He's a little glitched for me. I don't know, but some of the units on Rome Total War on this computer are glitched. I don't know why exactly, but if any of you guys can tell me, let me know. Oh, I also forgot this one unit here. I also brought a set of skirmishers, and this is kind of an attempt to weaken the enemy infantry, but it never really worked out that way. It's more for the cavalry. So the first thing I do is I'm charging up my slingers, and they're going to start laying down the rocks on the enemy archers. Not really going to do much. So let's take a look at my opponent's army here while there's still time. He has 2 sets of Pontic light cavalry, and these guys aren't too great. Are they? Yeah, I believe they're javelin throwing cav, and indeed they are. You're going to see they're throwing some javelins over at me. See, his main missile component is 6 sets of archers, and that's pretty darn deadly. Looks like they are, it's tough to tell. Looks like silver bronze or maybe gold attack. It's tough to tell. Let's see, his cavalry component. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of Cappadocian cavalry. These guys are basically your Eastern style, well, cataphracts are Eastern. They're basically cataphracts of Pontus, and I think there's another faction you can use these guys. I'm not really sure. I don't really use this kind of heavy cavalry very much, so I'm not too much of an expert. And finally, his infantry. He has 6 sets of these bronze shields, and these guys are not good. They're just terrible in my opinion. They can't really do much damage at all. And they are, let's see, gold bronze upgraded, I believe, or maybe gold. I don't know. It's kind of tough to see the experience. And I basically just started an all-out infantry engagement, knowing that my guys would wipe the floor. And I want to show you guys some of my bad micro over here. I completely just forgot. These Sacred Band Cavalry were just chasing after the Pontic Light Cavalry. Very stupid move on my part. And I'm going to notice here, and I'm going to rush them back, but it still took its toll. And basically, he's been doing some constant hammer and anvils, but it's really not going to much effect because I keep turning my Sacred Band around. Like here, he almost charged right into my Sarissas, but he noticed his mistake. I still get one of them, though, there. See? Right there. And I'm going to rush to cover the backs of the Sacred Band, who are just going to finish up this infantry right here. Over here, he's going to get a nice rear charge, unfortunately. And my opponent was really pretty good with micro. We were both kind of lacking in some micro at times, though, so it was a pretty even matchup there. Over here, he is going to win this fight between his Bronze Shields and my Sacred Band, just because my Sacred Band is just completely destroyed. They are so depleted, it is ridiculous. Over here, I have my cavalry charging down the rest of these archers, because they could prove a problem with minimal infantry left. And I am now starting the final infantry engagement over here. At this point, it's basically anyone's game, because he still has a good amount of cavalry. Also, another micro mistake I made. I had these pointy infantry chasing after my opponent's cavalry the whole game. So I'm basically going to run them back over here. And this is actually perfect timing because I'm going to be able to outflank now. That's perfect right there. And it is now turned into one huge mosh pit fight, which, I don't know, mosh pit fights always worry me. I don't really know why. Here he's doing charges with his Cappadocians, but yeah, there his general is going to die, and that's just going to mark the end there. There's not much really that he can do after that kind of setback, especially when using a barbarian faction like Pontus. It's kind of hard for the soldiers to fight without a general, and that's why when you're using a barbarian faction, you really need to keep your general alive. Even if it's not really barbarian, like even Macedon, you need a general with Macedon. So I'm just wrapping up the last remaining units here. You can see his Pontic light cavalry is just getting laid to waste. And I believe this is his final unit right here, and we're going to have a face-off. It's clear that my Sacred Band Cavalry is going to win, though, because Sacred Band Cavalry is heavy cav, and light cavalry, you know, the Pontic light cavalry is weaker. So yeah, that was a really good fight. Hope you guys enjoyed both of these battle replays. Let's take a look at the results here. I deployed 597 men, got 721 kills, and had 250 men remaining. My opponent, the Dark Lord, that's what I forgot to mention. His name in this fight was the Dark Lord. He deployed 796 men, got 397 kills, and had 54 men remaining. Good game to both of my opponents once again from the first fight and this fight, and I hope you guys enjoyed. See ya.